Hey, everybody. It's Laura from Healthy Carnivore. I'm just going to give a little information before I get started for tonight's topic. First thing, I want to welcome a new member, Lorraine Poland. Welcome. Hopefully, you enjoy what you see here. If you ever want me to go over something that I have not, you're welcome to look at my playlist to see if there's anything that you want me to go over. Oh, you can always put it in the comments and I will definitely do that. Please like this, share it out if the information you get from tonight, if it makes sense to you, if it's something to help somebody else, then yes, just share that out with them. Hey, Tara. Hey, T. How are you? Good to see you guys here. A little background about myself is I am a registered nurse. I have been a nurse for over 22 years, almost 23. They're all starting to blend. Anyway, I started doing keto in 1991 and converted over to carnivore in 2019. And then 2000, late 21, 22, I started Lion Diet, the version I needed to clean it up even more because of my histamine responses. And I'm happy to report, I don't think most people would consider me Lion Diet now because I can implement eggs and the occasional fermented pickle. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I don't care if the carnivore police like it or not. I feel good. Everything's working out well. Okay, let's see. Hey, Cheryl, how are you doing? And Wendy. Hey, Wendy, how are you? How's Nova Scotia? Hopefully, your husband is doing a little better. Baby steps are okay. Um, it is 95 degrees here in West Central Illinois today, and very humid, very, very humid. For those of you who do not know, I am a home health nurse at this point, and I do go into people's homes. And I have been in several today that don't even have fans, but they're used to it. So it's okay. I just suffer through it, and I have my tallow deodorant to save the day. So I don't stink. At least nobody's told me I stink. Um, Good evening, Lorraine. Yeah. So tonight's talk that I'm giving, the information I'm going over today, is going to be symptoms of different types of digestive disorders. Uh, Also, some things that we can do for those. I always recommend if you have ulcerative colitis, if you have Crohn's, um, IBS, I don't care if it's IBS-C, IBS-D, whatever you have. If you have something like that, especially if you've been dealing with this for a long time, I implore you to go on YouTube and look up Kent Carnivore, Kent Carnivore. His real name is Lee, but he lives in Kent, UK. And he has not only a very good story of his travels from, ulcerative colitis at a very young age to full on, colostomy bag. And now I think he talks very freely about trying to help anybody prevent having to have that done. But he's just a great guy to watch. He has lots of entertaining people, very educational discussions on his channel several times a week. You can go there and learn a ton of stuff. So if you have any of those conditions or know anybody that has that, please go out and look him up. He is wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. So let's see. Jiffy says, "Hey, Laura, I'm watching from the stovetop tonight." That sounds good. Wendy says, "We are having some forest fires, need rain." Oh, yeah, you guys do need rain up there. I saw that. That's pretty major. And I don't understand how this all works, but like when California was on fire, like the area, like some of the places in the United States, if they have fire, they literally go to like local lakes and rivers and things like that and put that water up into those plains and drop it on those. And are your fires so far inland that that's not something they can do? I don't really like the chemical stuff that they sometimes drop, but I think it probably does put the fire out, but I think it's probably dangerous for humans. But I just didn't know if that's something that can be done. And I don't know, that's just how my brain works. I'm always like, let's get to the root cause. Um, so Wendy says Clarence is coming along slowly. That's okay. Baby steps are okay. Let's get him back to health. Okay. Jiffy says cooking ribeye fat. Yum. That is what I had today. I had deer burger and ribeye fat and 2 tablespoons of butter and Redmond salt. And it was delicious. Cheryl says she likes listening to Lee. Me too. I love his accent. And I mean, he's been through it and he has great information. And is he's walking and talking his walk. So it is something, it's good information. He's been there, he's done it. And that's always nice when you have it coming from them. And it's not that the doctors are evil or that they're, trying to do harm. Some maybe. But they don't have UC. They don't have IBS. Most of those doctors that specialize in that they don't have it. At least the ones that I worked in the hospital with, I would always be like, do you guys have this? Have you had that? Have you did it? They'd say, it's not that hard to change a colostomy bag. And I'm like, do you have one? You don't know that unless you have one. So, and Janice, hello from Tennessee. I'll bet you it's warm in Tennessee. I'm just guessing. Jiffy says, I can't imagine what Kent went through. I just got through suffering from a doctor's prescription of Z-Pak for ear infection. My stomach was so bad I almost went to ER. I'm better now, but OMG. Yeah. Jiffy, uh, something my son does for his ear infections. I don't think I have any made up. I do, but I gave it to him. He gets ear infections, both ears, but especially his right ear, and he's done that his whole life. Not enough to where he could get tubes, and I probably wouldn't have done tubes anyway, but not enough to do that. But we take oregano oil, olive oil, and some clove bud oil, mix that together, and he puts drops of that in there with like a cotton ball, and he goes to bed with that in. And he's taken and done that at work, and usually within a day or two, it's completely gone. So that might be something you can try and avoid having to take a systemic antibiotic when really it's right here. Okay, Wendy says, have many planes dropping water. It's just so dry, it's hard to get a handle on the fire. Oh, I got you. Okay, so they are dropping water. California fires were during Santa Ana winds, not safe for fighting by plane. Oh, I guess that makes sense too. And then Jiffy says, thanks, I'll try that. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a mixture that I made up for my son. He's 28 and going to be 29. And yeah, he puts that in there. He swears by it. He keeps it. And, every so often, every once a year, he's like, hey, have you got any more of that? And I'm like, takes 3 seconds to make up. I just made up uh, a potion, I guess, today, just now when I got home from work for a patient of mine for tomorrow who's got like a yeasty dermatitis irritation to their skin. And so I put together some oregano oil, some tea tree, fractionated coconut oil, and some castor. So hopefully that will help them feel much better because that's really what I want them to be. Lorraine, on the for the ear, I would do let me show you the size of the bottles. Okay, so it's these. So basically, I do olive oil, just about a little bit over a third. Then you can put about 10 drops of oregano oil and 5 drops of the clove bud oil. And then just shake it up every time before they use it. But like I said, you can just take a cotton ball and put, several drops of that and push that down in the ear. Or you can, he actually, the first few times, he just put drops in the ear and then put the cotton ball in behind it and left it in overnight. And of course, the clove helps numb that, which is helpful. And then the oregano oil, is really good for killing the bacteria. So All right. Hopefully that's helpful, and you're welcome. IBS, so that is irritable bowel syndrome. These were terms that were never heard of. Really, most of these were never heard of 100 years ago. So something happened in that time frame. Um, so irritable bowel syndrome, it is really notable for having excessive bloating and gas, abdominal pain, and cramping. They get sometimes diarrhea, sometimes constipation, sometimes it alternates. I mean, I've had them be like one day diarrhea, the very next day it's like constipation type pains, and it may be 3 or 4 days, and then diarrhea happens again. Urgent bowel movements. That's those people that everywhere they go, they're like, "Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom?" I mean, a lot of us do that for urination, but this is for the other. And then one thing that you'll see is mucus in the stools. When you see mucus in the stools, whether it's C. diff, which is something people can get from over antibiotic use, or IBS, that is the lining. You have a mucus lining of your colon. Your entire digestive tract, let's just be honest, has a mucosal layer. If that mucosal layer is coming out, there's areas that are mad. There's inflammation, yeah. And then most people, like 99% of people, are told to eat more fiber. So if you think about, here's a tube, this is your colon. It's got a bunch of swelling inside here, so it's got less space for stuff to go through. So now we're going to take hard stool most of the time. Sometimes it's diarrhea. And we're going to pack a bunch of non soluble fiber behind that, which is kind of like a Brillo pad. And we're going to push that down that inflamed area. And then we're going to wonder why they have bleeding. They have more mucus shreds coming out. They have, flares that go on for months at a time. I mean, these people it can be so miserable for them. So I am not a doctor, but I can just tell you, if I had this, you wouldn't be able to get a raw vegetable down me at all. Fermented, yes. Raw, no. If I was going to eat a vegetable, it would have to be cooked to death so that it is broke down and you can digest more of that. Um, Gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD. So all of these diseases, symptoms really is what they are, came about because really the insurance companies, so they can't charge, um, you know, they cannot charge unless they have codes. So you have to have ICD 10 codes. There have been 9, all these codes. You have to have these in order to have a reimbursement charge to them. So that's why I'm like, man, they've got a code for every single disease that possibly could be out there, every single symptom. And this is one of those. So it is marked by heartburn, which is just the burning sensation, sometimes in the chest, sometimes it travels up the throat. You can actually taste the stomach acids, which is acid reflux too. Chronic cough or chronic sore throat. Have you ever been around somebody that's constantly like clearing their throat, and complaining, or have a little bit of a cough? Sometimes that's a medication side effect like lisinopril. Any ACE inhibitors can cause an ACE cough, which is a dry, hacky cough, which is a side effect that they do need to notify their doctor, and that needs to be changed to something else. They should not stay on that. But hoarseness and voice changes is another thing that you see with people who have really bad acid reflux. They have trouble swallowing. A lot of that is due to inflammation, but it can also be scarring of the esophagus with that acid rushing up there. The stomach is created where acid can sit inside of it, but the tissue above it and the tissue below it, it cannot have it to that amount. Um, I've had people say they feel like food keeps getting stuck. And again, a lot of times that is from what they call a stricture. So esophagus is supposed to look like this. you get a stricture where it's got a tight spot and things get stuck. I will say that most people that have been diagnosed with acid reflux, this is coming from my own gastro guy several years ago. He said, and he is a gastroenterologist from a large university with like 35 years experience at that time, and now he'd have like 45 or better. That most of the time it's not enough acid. As we age, the pumps slow down, so you have to do things to bring that acid back up. Because our acid level in our stomach should be kind of like hyena level, so like 2.0. So what he had me do is he had me stop all of my acid reducing medicines because it was making it worse, and he had me start with apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. And I could do it straight, and then I always rinse my mouth because you don't want the acid on your teeth. And the first few times it burnt going down because I had some erosion there. But over time, it got better and I could break down my food because at some point, probably 20 years into keto, if I made like a keto bread or keto noodles just made out of eggs, it would just sit in my stomach and it felt like it just ended up being like a big ball of dough and it wasn't getting broke down. And when I mentioned that to him, that's how that felt every time I would eat. And then I said, then I get acid reflux. And that's when he said, I don't think you have enough acid. He says, because what happens is that food doesn't get broke down and it gets dense and sits on the bottom of the stomach. And then the stomach fluids and acids come and sit on top. And he goes, what do you think they're going to do? It's going to come up. And so he said, sitting up after you eat, eating smaller meals, not drinking water with your meals, can help with that. And then, acidifying the body and getting rid of those acid reducing medications because they also block acetylcholine and they cross the blood brain barrier. And acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that we need to have. So the next one is probably one that I hear of quite often because of antibiotic use, and that's leaky gut syndrome, which is just increased intestinal permeability. It means that things can go in and out easier because it's kind of floppy, has little holes in it. It's kind of like a sponge where it's got multiple sizes of holes. So with that, you have chronic bloating and digestive discomfort. You have several food sensitivities or allergies, brain fog and fatigue, because you're not really breaking down your foods like you're supposed to, joint pain and inflammation, skin issues like acne, rosacea, eczema. I had severe sensitivity to many things, several food allergies, and I had the acne, which part of that was hormonal from menopause, and part of that was from this. And then autoimmune symptoms. I never got to the point where I went into autoimmune disease, thank God. So, very glad about that. But I do think we can turn that around by helping ourselves. Let's see. I'm just going to look at comments. Yeah. Lorraine was asking, is it okay for a 2-year-old? Absolutely. This was used for thousands of years before medications were. So when they call what we do alternative, I'm like, we've been around for thousands of years. You guys have been around 150. I consider you guys the alternative. Awesome. I get ear infections once a year from youth. Isn't that the case? And then Karen says, have to go back and re-listen, catching the rest now. Hey, that's okay. Hey, Simpson, how are you? Kat says, sorry, I'm late. I asked to be notified, but it didn't. I know it doesn't do that sometimes. I'm not sure what its issue is. It's just fickle. Hey, Thomas, how are you? That's okay. I know you're doing a lot. You're working, you're going through Kiltz's classes. You're a busy man. I completely understand. I've been watching a lot of your shorts. I love it. Where you're wearing like your rucking vest and stuff. I'm like, that's impressive. So you are on your way to continued healing. I always like to see that. So things that we can do that will help with any of these disorders. I really hate to call them diseases I same with diabetes. I don't consider that a disease. I consider that symptoms. I consider that there's a root cause to that, and if you fix that, then that's gone. So keto and carnivore, ketogenic lifestyle, even single ingredient foods are going to be better. But if you can go keto or carnivore for a while, I think that would help. So eliminating inflammatory foods such as processed carbs, which are horrible, gluten, seed oils, and artificial additives, because those things attack the gut lining. Okay, they're very caustic to the gut lining. These diets can help cut these things out, and that allows the gut to heal. Um, One thing that I do with a lot of people I've worked with is I teach them how to do gelatin bites. And so I recommend with the clients I work with, take like a box of Knox gelatin, which has 4 little envelopes in it. So it's an orange and white box that your grandma probably used to use. And you take 2 cups of boiling water, 1 cup of cold, and then you can put like an electrolyte powder, or you can put some lemon in there just for flavor if you want to. Otherwise, it's just going to taste like you're eating bones because you kind of are. But you make that and you put that in like an 8 by 8. Like I use like an old brownie pan, glass brownie pan, and put that in the fridge overnight. And then I cut that in the same size of squares as you would fudge. So, like just little squares. And then you can eat a couple of those a day. You can put them in your mouth and allow that to roll down the esophagus to kind of coat those areas. And that can kind of help with that as well. So this type of eating style, it does support the lining because animal based provides all the essential nutrients. So like collagen, glycine, glutamine from bone broth and fatty meats, which help rebuild the gut lining. You also can take glutamine, L-glutamine, or you can do, like I said, it's a whole lot cheaper to just do the packets if you can handle it. Some people, they have to go very slow. Balancing the stomach acid, low carb diets reduce excessive fermentation and bloating. Carnivore naturally helps increase stomach acid production, improving digestion and reducing GERD altogether. Reduce bloating and gas from this way of eating, removing fiber, heavy plant foods, which can irritate the gut in most people, often relieves the bloating, the cramping, the gas. Many irritable bowel syndrome sufferers see relief on a meat based diet within the first week. And that's per their reports of people I have worked with. Um, Restoring the gut microbiome. I know that's a word that everybody uses out there. That has been one of the most important things I think they have found. Your immune system, 75% of your immune system starts in your gut. Then you have to have the vitamin D. Then you have to have the LDL for the immune system and cells to ride to where they need to go, which takes fat. So excessive carbs and sugars feed the bacteria and candida overgrowth. But you have to also watch some of your sugar-free type things, um, like sucralose, aspartame. Some of those can absolutely cause leaky gut. That's exactly how I got mine. When I went dirty keto and ate the keto treats, that destroyed my gut. But I was eating more than what you should. If it said eat 1 Quest bar a day, I was like, well, why not have 3? Because that sweet taste I had no control over. So a keto or carnivore type diet starves the harmful microbes while it's nourishing the beneficial ones. And of course, healthy animal fats and proteins are going to help with that, restoring the gut. Many people with chronic digestive issues find complete relief by switching to well formulated ketogenic carnivore lifestyle, as it removes most of the common gut irritants and it focuses on nutrient dense, real healing foods. So hopefully that all kind of makes good sense. And I'm not just talking cuckoo. I had leaky gut syndrome. I had H. pylori, which is Helicobacter, which we all carry in our stomach, but it can break free and actually go through the stomach, which is what happened to me, which is pretty serious to have. It can lead you to having a higher prevalence of stomach cancer, I think by 50%, which I am not concerned with because of the way I eat. I'm not concerned. I've had no symptoms of any issues for several years. So yeah. Thomas says, thank you. That makes me happy. Yep. I don't know if I'm one of your riblets. I don't know. How do you become a riblet? I need to figure that one out. So anyway, I'm going to go over next week's topic is one of my favorite. I just did this one today with some family members of a patient and was like, look, you need to understand salt with all of the minerals, how it works in our body. And I just went through it step by step of, electrolytes, heart, cells needing these things. And just the way the body functions, the cells open up when they have the proper minerals, and salt opens the cell, allows the fluid to get in and become intracellular fluid instead of it just being extracellular fluid that you end up peeing out all the time. So it was pretty interesting. But next week's talk is going to be over salt. I'm going to go over, refined table salt, its effects. I'm going to go over mineralized salts and why I truly believe that it is better. And then, because I love cardiac, we all know I love hearts. Then I'm going to go over how the body uses those electrolytes for cardiac function. And I can tell you unequivocally, I had a patient who had AFib for over 5 years and congestive heart failure and cankles about this big, that within 2 weeks of using Redmond salt on all of their food, that they no longer had either of those things after 2 weeks. And then their doctor was like, because he agreed to allow that as long as we did their blood pressure, the family did the blood pressure, we kept an eye on everything. And then he's like, I can't tell the patients to do that. I'll just tell them to call you. And so every so often I'll get a call and I'll be like, I don't know this number. I don't know who this is. And it'll be somebody who's like, I went and saw this doctor and he said to give you a call. And I'm like, got it. I know what I'm supposed to do. So let's see. Tara says, thanks for talking about the gelatin. I forgot. I had some electrolyte gelatin in my fridge. Perfect. Yeah, I think it's so cheap to make. It's the easiest thing and it is so good. The first gentleman I worked with using that, he had been in the hospital and the big potassiums, like the ones that look like a piece of chalk, he had swallowed that. I mean, while he was in the hospital, they gave that to him and it didn't go all the way down. It wasn't to the point where he was choking. He didn't know it was stuck and it actually burned through his esophagus and he had had a hole there for quite some time. And of course was getting chest infections and things like that as water, drinks, food was spilling out into his chest cavity, and had that several times. And we got on micro, putting the good bacteria back in the system and really hit on the gelatin. And he closed that spot up very quickly. When he went for his upper endo, they said it was completely closed. And they said, but you're probably going to have scar tissue. And I'm like, probably going to have scar tissue there anyway when it closed up, if it closed up on its own. But I'm like, never mind that it's turned out good, but okay. Um, so, it was a cheap fix and the kid can eat and he was young. He can eat it, what he wants without having to worry about anything. So if you like the information tonight and you know anybody that this could be helpful for, please share this out with them. Continue to like it, hit the notification bell. Sometimes it'll notify you, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure why. And then anybody that has IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, please go look at Lee's channel, Kent Carnivore. You will not be sorry. He's got mad humor. Yes, very good humor. And so anyway, I appreciate you guys for being here. I will definitely see you guys Monday. I may do an extra video this weekend, depending on what all happens. To and I'm going to put it out there first for my actual members, and then it'll be out there for everybody. Jiffy says, thank you again, Laura. See you next week. Yep, I will see you guys. Thank you. As I always say, meet, heat, eat, and repeat. See ya.